Hello, I am Eugene, and this is my film show. I just love Halloween. You get to dress all spooky, go trick-or-treating, and... Okay, I'm not gonna do the voice. I just love Halloween. You get to dress all spooky, go trick-or-treating, and of course, watch scary movies. So I thought I'd do something a little different this episode. Instead of one movie, I'm going to recommend 6. That's right, the number of the beast. Divided by 111. And here they are, in alphabetical order, and backwards. On a full moon night, a young American family is brutally attacked while vacationing in France, leaving a man and his son dead. The wife and mother and sole survivor, Claire Porter, describes a giant thin beast resembling a man covered in hair from head to toe as their attacker.
He was eating my boy alive.
Klaus Pistor, the captain of the French police, wastes no time in arresting a local man named Talon Gwynnick who fits the description of who attacked the Porter family. American attorney and expatriate Catherine Moore steps up as legal representation for Talon. Rounding out the rest of the defense team are Eric, another American who works as an investigator, and Gavin, who is an animal expert brought in to examine the wounds on the victims and determine what might have done this.
The left femur being completely exposed. Bottom jaw has been completely ripped away. Also the tongue been partially consumed. An animal did this.
Despite his imposing and brutish appearance, Talon is quiet, soft-spoken, and slow-moving. He doesn't even put up a fight when he is arrested. But the French police, and Pistor in particular, seem hell-bent in their figuring that this is their culprit, almost on a personal level. The defense team ventures out to Talon's mother's house to get more information. It turns out that Talon suffers from a rare condition that's plagued the men in his family for generations.
Their bones too long and too weak for their bodies.
Has there been any official diagnosis at all?
No one's ever been able to help.
DNA results from the Porter family attack are contaminated and unusable. Claire succumbs to her injuries and passes away, so the defense team turns their focus onto what this rare condition is that Talon may have, known as porphyria.
Well, the symptoms of this disease and what you suffer from are very similar. And if you do test positive, it will help prove that you were not physically able to commit these crimes.
Talon is transferred to a hospital where he will be subjected to a series of tests to determine if this is in fact what he suffers from. The examination begins with a corneal impression from one of his eyes, followed by another test that involves placing him under a strobing light that's intended to cause stress and trigger a seizure of some sort which will confirm his porphyria. Something tells me that this won't end well. Holy shit! Well, that answers that. Talon escapes from the facility and a citywide manhunt begins with Pistor leading the charge. Shortly afterwards, the police have Talon cornered in an abandoned high-rise building. They think they've got the drop on him, but these poor fools are in for some superhuman shit as Talon quickly and brutally dispatches of them. Badass. Where got a VOD release in 2014, it later came out on DVD, and that's just kind of where it's sat ever since. It's sometimes incorrectly classified as a found footage film, which it definitely is not. It just has a documentary-type feel to it with its use of handheld camera work as well as integration of security cam and news reports into the narrative. There's been quite a few werewolf films made over the years, but really only a handful of them stand out as particularly exceptional. Where is a welcome breath of fresh air into the genre, and I think it definitely stands alone as its own unique beast.
Le voilà, il s'échappe. Mais là, on a ta ligne de mire, tire-lui dessus.
group of college kids are heading out on a camping trip. Along the way, they're creeped out by the local backwoods hillbillies who, of course, will begin to stalk and kill each and every one of them. At least, that's what you expect will happen, but not so! Tucker and Dale are a couple of good, wholesome dudes who are heading out for some fishing and to kick back at their fixer-upper vacation home.
Oh my God. It's perfect.
The college kids have set up camp close by, and they decide later that night to hit the lake for some swimming. Tucker and Dale, meanwhile, are out fishing and accidentally startle one of the girls, and she takes a nasty spill off a rock. When she fails to return to the surface, Tucker and Dale rush to the rescue and save her by pulling her into their boat. But that's not how it appears to the college kids.
Ah, we got your friend! Oh, God! They got Allison! Hey! We got your friend! Why the hell are they running away? Hey!
What follows is a hilarious series of misunderstandings that continually paint Tucker and Dale as kidnapping psycho-killer rednecks, when actually they sincerely want to help the kids.
College kids! Hey, college kids! College kids!
I don't see him.
I don't know, they must have run off.
The de facto leader of the college kids is Chad, who is in the running for biggest douchebag in film history, and he has a special kind of hatred for these hillbillies.
Don't you get it? This is what it's all about. It's us against them. Survival of the fittest.
Inside Tucker and Dale's house, Allison awakens with a bad bump on her head and a foggy memory. At first she believes that she's in danger, but very quickly it becomes clear that this is not the case at all. She even begins to warm up to Dale's sweetness as he nurses her back to health, completely changing whatever preconceived notions she may have had about these scary backwoods hillbillies.
God, you were right again. You were killing me.
I know. I'm sorry about that. I got this weird brain where I'm dumb as a stump, but I remember everything that I ever heard.
That sounds pretty smart to me.
Meanwhile, the college kids hatch several attempts in order to rescue Allison, but every attempt they make ends with one or more of them accidentally killing themselves in gruesome and awesome ways. Tucker and Dale see this as some sort of bizarre suicide pact that's playing out all around them. Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine play Tucker and Dale, and they are pitch perfect as these two hapless innocents.
We go to the police?
Tell them what?
Oh, I would tell them what happened.
It's a good idea, Dale. There we were minding our own business. Just doing some chores around the house when kids started killing themselves all over my property.
Well, that's what happened, Tucker.
The film was a big hit at Sundance and South by Southwest, but it never really got a big release, and its meager sales were hurt even more by people illegally downloading it instead. But word of mouth keeps growing and growing year after year, and I believe it's well on its way to becoming a modern comedy horror classic.
Are you okay?
What the hell is that?
Trick-or-treaters, it's Halloween.
Oh. But I don't have any candy.
What?
Well, I had to buy this costume. This cape ain't cheap, you know.
Well, what do you want to do? They know that we're here.
Okay. I think there's some apples in the fridge.
Seriously?
Well, that's all I got. Would you mind going and handing them out? I'll keep things rolling here. Is that cool? Thank you. Thank you, Kev. 3, 2, 1. The year is 1945. 3 servants seeking employment arrive at a large remote country house. Its inhabitants are a woman named Grace and her 2 children, Anne and Nicholas. There are some very strict rules within the house that the servants must abide by with no excuses. The most important being that all the doors are to be closed and the curtains drawn when the children are present due to their extreme sensitivity to light.
They are photosensitive and they must never be exposed to any light much stronger than this. Otherwise, in a matter of minutes, they would break out in sores and blisters and begin to suffocate.
The children's days mainly consist of playing in the dark by themselves, reading Bible lessons with their mother, but also dealing with a mysterious little boy named Victor who claims to also live inside the house.
Tell him to leave the curtains alone. You won't listen to me. Stop it. Get off my bed, both of you. This is our bed. No, it's is mine.
Victor apparently has a family as well, and footsteps, whispering, and other unusual noises echo throughout the house. Anne seems the most receptive to their presence and tries to convince her mother that there are others living among them.
This is the father, this is the mother. This is Victor, and this is the old woman.
What do these numbers stand for?
That's the number of times I've seen them.
Soon enough, she has several encounters with the spirits firsthand, and in one of the upstairs rooms among the previous owner's belongings, Grace comes across a haunting book of photographs.
In the last century, I believe they used to take photographs of the dead in the hopes that their souls would go on living through the portraits.
The matronly Mrs. Mills, the gardener Mr. Tuttle, and the mute servant girl Lydia seem to know more about this strange presence than they're letting on, and soon their true history with the house is revealed along with big revelations about its other ghostly inhabitants. Nicole Kidman is strong as the no-nonsense mother of the house who secretly hides her pain away and grieves for her husband that's gone off to war, with no word back for quite some time. The two young actors playing the children are excellent. The film could have easily been sunk by a couple of lousy kid actors in such prominent roles, but these two are absolute gems.
You're stupid. Not half as much as you. Well, I don't believe you saw that boy. Believe what you like. You'll soon be begging us to play with you.
I love me a good ghost story, and I especially love a film that doesn't rely on jump scares to frighten you. There are a couple of nice jolts here and there for sure, but it's the overall quiet, foggy, haunted atmosphere that really gets under your skin. So if you're stuck for something to watch this Halloween, why not give the others a go? But before you do, remember to turn out all the lights and close all the curtains. FBI headquarters, Dallas, Texas. We meet an agent named Wesley Doyle, played by Powers Booth. Doyle is the chief investigator in a series of killings perpetrated by a man calling himself the God's Hand Killer. He's been called into his office to meet with a man named Fenton Meeks, played by Matthew McConaughey. Fenton has good reason to believe that his younger brother Adam is the God's Hand Killer.
Because in a case like this, nobody just walks in the office and tells you who the killer is. It just doesn't happen that way.
Sometimes truth defies reason, Agent Doyle.
Fenton goes on to tell Doyle that the God's Hand killings don't originate with his brother, but with the boy's father way back in the summer of 1979. In flashback, we meet Fenton and Adam as young boys along with their widowed father, a mechanic played by Bill Paxton. He's a good man who loves his boys, works hard to provide for them, and their childhood is a happy one in this idyllic small-town setting. One night, however, everything in their world changes when their father wakes them up to explain that he's just received a vision from an angel. The angel told him that he and his boys have been chosen by God to destroy demons that are walking among them disguised as human beings.
We don't fear these demons. We destroy them. We pick them up one by one and we pitch them out of this world. That's God's purpose for us. The angel called us God's hands.
Soon their father claims that God has delivered magical weapons for them to use. A pipe for the clobberin', a special pair of gloves for the protectin', and a big ol' axe for the dispatchin'. He also claims to receive another vision that reveals the first list of demons to be destroyed. Naturally, the younger boy, Adam, automatically believes every word that their father says, while Fenton, on the other hand, is not having any of this, thinking it was just a strange dream.
It's all make-believe, Adam.
No, it's not. It's true.
Listen to me. None of that demon junk is real. Daddy, he just made it up.
No, he didn't.
He did too.
Then one night, Dad doesn't arrive home until quite late, but when he does, he has something for the boys to see.
Son, come over here. Come on, I need your help.
Dad soon enlists the boys to help him kidnap more demons to be destroyed. They're then buried in the large community rose garden that's behind their house.
Do it like this. It's got to be done a certain way. The angel was real specific.
Fenton believes his father has gone completely insane and brainwashed Adam into going along with him. Dad might even think that Fenton is a demon as well, and in an attempt to break him down, he makes him dig a large hole in the backyard to be used as a storm cellar, as well as a demon-killing room.
I've been praying for you. Have you been praying?
Nope, and I'm not going to.
But Dad said...
I don't care what Dad said. He might be able to make me dig this stupid hole, but he can't make me pray.
Fenton continues telling his story to the FBI agent as the two men take a drive up to the town of Thurman where all this had supposedly happened. He suggests that his brother's victims are probably buried in the old rose garden. There are many more delicious revelations to come, but I'll leave them for you to discover. Frailty holds the distinction of being the first of only 2 films directed by the beloved Bill Paxton, who passed away far too young in 2017. He is clearly a gifted filmmaker, and it's a real shame we'll never see another picture with him in the director's chair, because he executes this very dark material masterfully. Frailty shows us what wicked deeds good, decent people are capable of when they believe they have divine permission. It's truly frightening.
Has God spoken to you yet?
There is no God.
Okay, what is going on out there?
That would be eggs hitting the side of the house.
What?
Hey, get out of here. Yeah, I see you. Oh, don't you aim that thing at... Ah!
Okay, I think I scared him off. Back to the show.
I call this one Demon Night.
Tales from the Crypt was a horror anthology comic book series that ran from 1950 to 1955, published by EC Comics. In 1989, an anthology television series of the same name was produced by HBO, featuring that lovable, decrepit ghoul, the Crypt Keeper, as the show's host.
Tales from the Crypt.
The Crypt Keeper, voiced by John Kassir, would bookend each episode of the show, providing an intro and outro to whatever story is being told, peppered with a lot of bad puns to set the dark comedic tone. In 1995, Tales from the Crypt made the jump from small screen to big screen with its first feature film, Demon Night.
We're going to the movies! Frights, camera, action!
A man named Breaker is cruising down a deserted highway with another vehicle in hot pursuit. The man who's trailing him is known only as the Collector. After narrowly escaping a fiery crash, Breaker wanders into a nearby town seeking shelter. He meets the friendly local drunk known as Uncle Willie, who leads him to a boarding house on the outskirts of town. Residing there is the owner, Irene, a postal worker named Wally, a prostitute named Cordelia, and a convict named Geraldine, who's out on a work release program. Another local named Roach turns up shortly after to procure services from Cordelia. This guy's just a dickhead. Meanwhile, back at the car crash, the town sheriff and Deputy Bob meet the Collector, who has miraculously emerged from the wreckage unscathed.
All right, look, officers. The man I'm chasing now, he's dangerous. If he's in your town, you got a problem.
He seems like a nice enough dude and convinces them to help him find Breaker and retrieve a priceless relic that he's supposedly stolen from him. Back at the mission, Irene notices Breaker acting kinda squirrely and out of suspicion decides to call the police, which of course leads the Collector right to him. Breaker is placed under arrest and we get a look at the key-shaped piece of antiquity that the Collector seeks. But before he can reclaim it, the cops decide to haul him in for some questioning as well.
It's really like the man said, if you knew who I was.
We'll find out soon enough.
Why wait?
Fuck yeah. It turns out that the Collector is trying to bring eternal darkness back to the world as it was before God's creation, and he must retrieve the final key from Breaker.
Fuck this cowboy shit! You fucking ho-dunk, po-dunk, well then there, motherfuckers! All you have to do is give me the goddamn key!
He condemns the property by spawning a horde of ugly, slimy demons to do his bidding. The key acts as a flask of sorts, and Breaker is able to seal off doors, windows, and entryways with the liquid that's contained within, creating a barrier that the demons cannot pass through.
Give me the key, Breaker, for crying out loud!
But the Collector is able to use his wiles to tempt various members of the group into going against the others and letting him inside, taking possession of their bodies. The creatures can be killed by destroying their eyes or forcing them through the seals. The liquid we later find out is blood that dates back to the crucifixion of Christ. It's also revealed that Breaker is the latest in a long line of demon knights who are protectors of the key and have been battling the demons for centuries. And so it goes, a siege between good and evil, light and darkness, heaven and hell. William Sadler leads the ensemble cast that also includes Pre Smith Jada Pinkett, Charles Fleischer, C.C.H. Pounder, Pounder, Thomas Hayden Church, and the legendary Dick Miller. The standout performance, however, is Billy Zane as the Collector, who brings such a goofy charm to this otherwise evil character that you just can't help but love to hate him. He puts the Zane in zany.
Come on out, everybody. It's time to play. Hello. Or not.
The film was directed by Ernest Dickerson, who at that point had made a couple of pictures but was largely known as a cinematographer, most notably for his work on Spike Lee's first 6 movies. Tales from the Crypt followed up Demon Knight a year later with Bordello of Blood, but we're not going to talk about that one. They gave us this little masterpiece, and that's good enough for me. Horror, action, gore, demons, nudity, comedy. Ah, it's so good.
Now that's entertainment!
A young journalist and documentarian named Taylor has arrived in the town of Glen Echo, Maryland, along with a couple of cameramen. They are seeking out a very peculiar fellow named Leslie Vernon, a man who aspires to join the ranks of such classic killers as Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers. In the world in which this film takes place, these aren't horror movie characters, but actual historical figures. Leslie lets Taylor into his world and outlines what's involved if you want to become one of the great serial slashers. Every classic supernatural killer needs a juicy backstory. Leslie assumes the identity of a young boy that was supposedly killed by the locals some decades ago, and now he's returning to terrorize them. Leslie's masterpiece is set to be unveiled on the anniversary of his purported death in his childhood farmhouse, where every year local teenagers turn up to scare each other and tempt the curse of Leslie Vernon. This year he's going to reappear and slaughter them all, except of course for the obligatory survivor girl that he has picked out. He walks us through the meticulous preparation that goes into pulling off something like this.
Let me get this straight. You want her to arm herself with one of these?
All the obvious weapons right up front, I've sabotaged. I've pre-cut the handle so it'll snap with the first swing. The main fuse rigged up to cut the power. I've cut down the larger branches from the trees to prevent anyone from climbing down. If someone comes in and sees 2 horrifically mangled bodies, they'll run screaming from the house. I'll lose containment way too early.
Along the way, we meet his closest friends, Jamie and Eugene. Ha! Eugene. Eugene is a former slasher himself and mentor to Leslie, played by the late screen legend Scott Wilson. Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, appears in the film as Leslie's Ahab, which is basically the Donald Pleasance character in the Halloween movies. Someone from the killer's past that returns to try and prevent these horrible acts from occurring. Things are all fun and games for the first little while, but as the crew gets deeper and deeper into Leslie's plan, they run the risk of jeopardizing what he's worked so hard to construct.
If you want to pack it up and go home, that is fine. It's not going to affect what I have to do. And frankly, I'll be glad not dragging you fuckers along anymore. But don't ruin my life's work.
All roads eventually lead to Leslie's magnum opus at the farmhouse, but we discover that he hasn't revealed his entire hand just yet, and the film's whole visual aesthetic makes a hard left turn from handheld documentary to slickly produced horror movie in the final act. It's very clever and supremely satisfying.
It's over. The documentary's done. Now he's done.
The 2 lead actors in this film are Angela Goethals as Taylor.
You're what the French call les incompetents. What?
And Nathan Basel as Leslie, and this dude is phenomenal. He hasn't really done a whole lot since this film in 2006, and that's unfortunate. I guess this was just the role that he was born to play. Behind the Mask lovingly skewers all the familiar tropes of slasher movies and ends up itself becoming a worthy entry into the genre, to stand alongside Michael Myers, Freddy, and Jason. Leslie Vernon would be proud.
I'm so happy.
Happy Halloween, folks. I'm Eugene, and this is my film show.